Ladies and gentlemen, you are not in Kansas anymore. You are on Pandora. Respect that fact. Out there beyond that fence, every living thing that crawls, flies, or squats in the mud wants to kill you and eat your eyes for jujubes.
Welcome to Now Playing Podcast's Avatar Retrospective Series.
You out of your goddamn mind?
You crossed the line.
Hosted by Marjorie, Arnie, and Stuart.
The humans are returning.
But be warned, this episode will contain detailed plot spoilers and mildly objectionable language.
If you want to live, you have to ride.
We hope you enjoy the show.
I see you.
I see you.
Today we're discussing Avatar, Fire and Ash, starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Stephen Lang, and Kate Winslet, directed by James Cameron. Hey, remember me, pendejos? It's Arnie, co-host of Now Playing. Kiss my ass!
And your pink-ass host, Stuart.
And this is Marjorie.
So here we are at the movie I've been dreading all year, like a death row inmate facing execution. I cannot recall a movie I've seen in theaters and hated more since the pandemic than Avatar 2.
Okay, I think this got misrepresented. You guys did not hate Avatar.
No.
You hated being attacked by all the people that told you Avatar was great.
Correct. I dug in my heels because I gave Avatar a weak not recommend because of the story, and I refused to give it a pass for visuals alone. Then yes, that was the first podcast to really bring out the pitchforks. Little did I know people would forget Avatar, both as a movie and as our review, and Batman Begins would become the bane, pun intended, of my existence.
Yes. It won't be the last time. We all do it. At some point, our tastes don't match up with popular sentiment, but you guys did not predict, and neither did I, how big Pandora would be. And it took, about 12 years, but we got the sequel that didn't live up to expectations. I feel like it's a well-understood concept that A Way of Water is not as good as the first Avatar. I think most people agree with that.
I think that they do. I think that the original Avatar was so beloved because it was an amazing 3D movie. And that was back when I could see 3D. I currently have trouble with 3D because I have an eye issue. It doesn't really work for me anymore. But I could see it then, and it was incredible. The story, it was rehashed. I mean, it was nothing new or inventive or anything like that. Way of Water seemed like a money grab. Like, James Cameron, I don't know, did he go through a divorce recently, like George Lucas? I don't know what happened there.
I feel like he always is marrying his leading ladies and then divorcing them.
Yeah, exactly. But Way of Water, the biggest problem I had with it, it was dull. Nothing really happened. It was just so blah. And I was dreading this. I had this incredible sense of denial about it. And in my head, I'm like, no, that's not coming up. That's not really happening. And then all of a sudden, he's like, hey, when do you want to see Avatar? I'm like, oh, shit. And here we are.
Just to put it in perspective, every time I get to watch a James Cameron movie, I'm happy. Until Way of Water. Way of Water was a slap in the face. I had no expectation that I wasn't going to like it, and I was shocked at how juvenile it was, how rudimentary it was in its storytelling. Like, I just couldn't believe yo, bro, we're just going to be some crazy kids. Like, it became a family movie, and that first movie didn't prepare me for that. I did not think it was going to be such a Disney film. And yeah, maybe I should have known that Disney owned the property now, but I didn't expect Cameron to bow to that. And its sensibilities didn't feel like him. I just didn't feel like it was a James Cameron movie other than the technical. I went back and watched them both in preparation, and my feelings more or less held. I thought the first one was visually splendid, and the story was good enough. And then that second one is dull. It is. It's just so slow moving and kind of unfocused and unsatisfying. But and this is the caveat, if the point was to demonstrate motion capture on water, it is a fantastic looking movie. It did deserve that Best Visual Effects Oscar. It looks incredible.
I don't think that anybody denies that these look great. I think that's not the problem. I think the problem is they look fantastic and they're like, oh, no, we got to add a story to this. And the story is like an afterthought. They're working backwards and they've just like, hey, I want to do this beautiful scene. And they're like, well, what should we have happen during this scene? Like they want to have the visuals. And I will give James Cameron credit. I also love a lot of his movies. And I give him a huge amount of credit for his technical aspects, the research he does. On this one, he has spent a lot of time researching why 3D gives people headaches, and he claims to have alleviated that.
Not that you went and tried it.
Yeah, you didn't want to be the guinea pig.
No, the headaches aren't the problem. I just can't see it.
Interesting.
I did go back. I rewatched Avatar 1 and 2. I've talked about this a couple times on the show. I have one of those Apple Vision Pro VR headsets, and one of the benefits is Apple and Disney have a partnership. And so I can see 4K 3D movies through Disney Plus on this headset without having to pay anything, because I don't want to pay anything for Avatar. I watched Avatar 1 in 3D through the headset in 4K. No disc can do 4K 3D, but this can. And yeah, I pretty much stand by. Dull story. And you know what I said in 2009 was that the effects would be overdone. New films would come along and do better. And watching it in VR, where it's like the equivalent of an IMAX screen, the effects are dated. You know what really lacks is texture, skin texture. When I watch Avatar 2 and 3, I see pores, I see wrinkles. Everybody is waxy and flat in that 2009 film. It's 16 years old, technology has improved. What wowed us in 2009 looks a little bit cartoony in 2025. And I think some of the birds and things looked a little too animated. I rewatched part 2 and had a real visual problem with it. I didn't realize not only is it 4K, not only is it 3D, it's high frame rate through this. And I'd not seen high frame rate movies since the last Hobbit film in 2015? When we did that review, and I drove to Peoria, Illinois, so I could see a high frame rate film and thought it looked like crap. And I'm watching this and I'm like checking my speed settings. I'm like, am I watching this at 1.5x? I wouldn't mind watching Avatar 2 at 1.5x, but I just don't do that. But everything was moving so fast and so weird. And then I realized, oh, this is high frame rate and it looks terrible. But the 3D was good, the visuals were good. Because I knew what to expect, and because I didn't mind checking my phone a few times during the movie, it was not as painful as when I was sitting in a theater giving it my full attention. But I still really don't like that movie.
I didn't hate it as much as I remembered hating it. I think it was the shock of the rug being pulled out from under me, that he had dumbed down Avatar to be a kiddie film. And that's the way it played.
And you mentioned him capitulating to Disney, but these were Fox films. Fox was pushing back on him. Remember, these were being made long before that merger.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that they were actually being shot. Yes, we heard lots of rumors that all of them were being made at the same time, was the rumor I heard. And there was 5 of them, and that ends up not being true. What we've found out recently is that 2 and 3 were more or less shot back to back, and in the last 5 or 6 years when Disney owned Fox.
Principal photography for part 2 started in 2017. So it took a long time.
But that's when the merger happened.
Was it that long ago? It doesn't feel that long ago.
Oh, yes. I was there for it. I was on the ground.
Also, you said that you wondered what happened to James Cameron. And not only don't I like any movie James Cameron made in the 21st century,
which is only Avatar.
Yeah, I've come to dislike James Cameron as a person, as a being, as a filmmaker. Anytime I see James Cameron has touched something, it's whatever the opposite of the Midas touch is. He has the shit touch. Like Terminator and Terminator 2 got released on 4K, and we have talked about when we reviewed True Lies. That wasn't even on Blu-ray because Cameron had to be sure it was perfect and everything was absolutely precise. Well, he used AI upscaling on Terminator and Terminator 2 with aggressive grain removal. It makes some of the shots look awful. Everyone is waxy. The colors are weird. Cameron used to be a perfectionist and not anymore. It's to the point that I've been in many discussions and I tell people, keep your Blu-ray of Terminator and Terminator 2. Do not get the shitty 4K. And Cameron was asked about this in an interview and he said, quote, when people start reviewing your grain structure, they need to move out of mom's basement and meet somebody. I'm serious. I mean, are you kidding me? I've got a great team that does the transfers. This is politician talk, not perfectionist filmmaker talk.
I mean, he's not totally wrong, Arnie. Like, you're blowing up over grain.
I'm blowing up over the fact that Linda Hamilton's face looks like a skull because the sunglasses have melted into her eye sockets in some of these shots.
Okay, I haven't watched these transfers, and maybe they're not good. I used to work for the man. I worked at Fox, and I remember that trying to get him to spend his attention on when we wanted to re-release The Abyss for television, he couldn't do it. I mean, he does oversee all of it. I can speak to that directly. He doesn't let anything go out without his stamp of approval. So if it went out, it's because he thought it was ready.
I think he's changed. And then when asked about the high frame rate, he was doing a huge press tour for Avatar 3. I mean, yeah, Sam Worthington's out there, but nobody wants to talk to Sam Worthington. Jim Cameron's putting himself out there as the person people want to talk to. And a reporter said people complained about the high frame rate on Avatar 2. He did it again at Avatar 3. And Cameron said, I think $2.3 billion says you're wrong on that. I happen to like it and it's my movie. As like, you are just such an egotistical dick.
He's got you money.
Yeah, or maybe he's tired of hearing haters complain. I get it. At some point, it's like if you don't like it, don't watch. But what I've done is a proven formula at this point. Despite all of our protests, Way of Water got a Best Picture nomination and is the third highest grossing film of all time.
Then, when asked about splitting Avatar into 2 and 3, Fox, not Disney, Fox was pushing back about it because Cameron could not contain this 6.5-hour epic into one film. And Fox said, we don't know that we want to do that. And Cameron's response said, what part of you getting $2 billion more is in question here? His ego is unchecked.
Well, he's only one. I mean, where has the failure been? Not since Piranha 2, right? Every time people bet against him, they lose. Fox is still pissed that they sold away the rights for Titanic to Paramount because they could have owned all of that success, but they blinked.
I just think the James Cameron I liked died in 1998. He was murdered by a man named Oscar.
1998. Titanic.
When he got the Oscar, said I'm king of the world, and believed his own hype.
Well, he's always been arrogant. And again, if your problem is arrogance, I would suggest not listening to any director commentary, just in general. But yes, why should he be humble when he's always proven right? He needs a failure in order to take in the messages that you say he should take in.
Well, you said in both our previous podcasts that you were sad that James Cameron was only making Avatar films. I no longer care if James Cameron made any more films. Avatar, not Avatar, I'm over Cameron. He is a relic of the 20th century.
Okay. So is probably all of our favorite directors. I mean, just saying.
I don't think Nolan is a relic of the 20th century.
He didn't make films in the 20th century.
Exactly.
Well, okay. You get my point. Is that, yes, when people get old, they don't make their best work. I think that's pretty historically true. When I think about all of my favorite directors, their best stuff doesn't come at the end. And yeah, the sadness is that Cameron may never get off Pandora. Except he's kind of putting out the rumblings of someone, well, maybe he's just been there for too long, but maybe this won't be 2 more films. Maybe this saga, he'll just write some books and direct something entirely different. I do know that his next film slated is a concert movie of Billie Eilish.
Which is just freaking weird, but okay. He wants Avatar 4 and 5 to be made. He has indicated that he may or may not direct. He'd like the thought of handing the directorial duties to somebody else while he could make other films. He has some World War II drama based on a true story that he's optioned about the only person who actually was in Nagasaki and Hiroshima when both bombs were dropped and survived both. And maybe that will be his next one. but he doesn't plan on killing the money tool can that Avatar is. He wants an animated series for Avatar. He's talking about animated features. He's talking about Avatar 4 and 5. He's not going to cancel the gravy train.
Obviously, Avatar will live on, but they may not make these movies, is what I've heard him directly say. They may not be theatrical films at all. Or he may hand it off like he did Alita Battle Angel to somebody else, like Robert Rodriguez.
But I did learn a lot about the making of these films, and they put out a 2-hour documentary on Disney Plus called Fire and Water about the making of. It turned out it was all about the making of Way of Water, but Cameron introduced and said the same techniques were used on Fire and Ash, just to try to make it relevant. And the fact that all of this is shot indoors, just about, sometimes they have an outdoor water tank, and there's nothing in these shots that are real. I mean, there's about as much reality in this film as there is in Finding Nemo. I mean, I guess Spider and a few human characters actually were also on this warehouse set, but there's no doubt why the 3D is better than anything else. When you animate everything like a Pixar film, the 3D is incredible. I did see this movie twice. I went once with Marjorie, because again, she has the eye problem with 3D. So I went to a 2D showing on Thursday night, and I said to myself, if I don't hate it as much as Avatar 2, if I can bear sitting through it again, then I'll go see it the way it was meant to be seen in IMAX 3D on Friday. So spoiler alert, I did not claw my eyes out during this. I did go back to see it for IMAX 3D on a sold-out show on Friday afternoon, and unfortunately, they didn't tell me it was high frame rate, so I had to deal with that crap again. But no, the visuals are impressive as hell, and the 3D is incredible.
Yeah, I saw it twice as well. Is there a hope of it being different after Way of Water is the question I hear you guys asking. Given that they were shot and conceived kind of as a two-part story, it's going to be pretty close, right? There's no real reason to think we're going to get a jump in quality in part 3 from part 2. Knowing that, I had my expectations set low. The thing I had heard that gave me some optimism was that Cameron had admitted that his portrayal of indigenous people was a little too sanctimonious, and that this would be the film that showed that Na'vi could kill Na'vi. That they would actually be the villains of the film, is the way I understood it. And for some reason, I had heard the rumor that he was going to bring in his old pal Arnold Schwarzenegger to be that villain. And Michelle Yeoh was supposed to be here as well. But whatever reason, maybe they're saving them for part 4. Is this going to be the biggest film of all time? Is this set to be the same box office grosser that the last one was?
We're recording this early in the weekend so we can start our Christmas break, but early estimates have this launching with an incredible 90 million domestic and another 250 global. So in the first weekend, you're looking at somewhere around 350 million global, which is impressive. But by comparison, it's a lot less than Way of Water made, because Way of Water opened with 134 million domestic. So we're talking about a $40 million drop. And just looking at this year, Minecraft, Lilo and Stitch, Wicked 2, and even Superman opened bigger than this. And Superman, I just see on all the fan groups, oh, Superman flopped. Everybody hates James Gunn's DCU. Superman's such a money loser. Opened bigger than this. So that is, I would think, a bit of a humbling box office, showing that maybe after 12 years of pent-up anticipation for Pandora, people aren't rushing back to this as quickly. This is opening around the same as Jurassic World Rebirth, which, you know, probably made money but didn't set the world on fire.
So are people still wanting to be Na'vi and adopting it as their life? That seems to have cooled off after 12 years, or else maybe I'm just not in that corner of the internet.
Well, there you go. I mean, there's always going to be somebody that wants that to be true, probably for Howard the Duck. You guys wanted that for Howard the Duck.
Oh, no, wait, why are you lumping me in this?
All right, Arnie. Arnie wants to be in Howard the Duck. I think there's always fans, but the people I've talked to, just speaking casually, they were all telling me, you know, I loved Avatar when I was a kid, but that last movie just didn't do it for me. I'm not excited about going.
And I feel like these movies have lost their cultural relevancy. Somebody pointed out to me, have you ever seen in all of your convention going and all the geek circles you hang out in, have you ever seen anyone wearing an Avatar t-shirt? Because I see every sci-fi franchise on a t-shirt. Star Trek, Star Wars, still Firefly for the diehards. And no, I don't see anyone ever with a Na'vi on their t-shirt. I know they're selling them at Target. I saw a big display of them. I don't know a single person who's buying them. And I also don't see them at the mall. It's not just geeks don't like this. I don't see it in everyday culture, and I see people wearing Captain America shirts just randomly.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to win the t-shirt wars at all. I don't think it's going to have that kind of fandom. But again, when something's this popular, I don't imagine that nerds would embrace it as their favorite, right? In some ways, that's part of Avatar's problem. It's a victim of its own success. Your mom went and saw it and liked it. So how can you endorse it?
But I'm saying I don't even see it. I went to a mall to see this movie. Thousands of people at this mall on Christmas. Not a single Avatar shirt, but I did see Avengers shirts, just among the people, not just the geeks.
I didn't see any popcorn bucket. Maybe I just didn't look hard enough.
Oh, no, there is. It's the Banshee, and it's huge and impractical. Because it's like they put a popcorn bucket in the body of the Banshee, so you have this giant popcorn bucket you have to worry about.
That's fun. You could ride it.
Not that big, but it looks like it's about 2 feet long, which seems impractical. I like when they make them usable or smaller to carry that you can put on a shelf.
I have to say, when I saw this at the AMC Laser IMAX, I did buy the popcorn bucket for Silent Night, Deadly Night. They had it there, and I was so excited I could get that cookie tin.
I don't think you'll have any other takers for it. They're probably very happy to sell you more if you want them. Stocking stuffers, Christmas is coming.
Only for the naughty.
Anyway, we should probably get on with this movie. Arnie, tell them what happens in Fire and Ash.
Fire and Ash picks up immediately after The Way of Water. Jake and Neytiri are barely holding it together after their eldest son's death. Jake blames Loak, his now oldest son, and Neytiri's grief hardens into outright hatred of humans. Jake tries to convince the Reef people to prepare for another human attack, but they refuse to use automated weapons. Jake tries and send the human boy Spider back to the military base, as humans can't breathe Pandora's air and it's not safe for Spider to be so far away from reliable oxygen. Spider resists, so Jake compromises by taking the family on a short visit to see Neytiri's mother. During transport, their trading ship is attacked by the Manquan, also known as the Ash People, led by the ruthless Shak Varang. In the attack, Neytiri is badly wounded and the children fall into the forest below. When Spider's oxygen runs out, Kiri calls on Yiwa to save him. He emerges transformed, able to breathe Pandora's air and possessing a neural Q. One of those head-tail things. The children are caught by Varang, and before Jake can rescue them, Jake is captured by Colonel Quaritch, who, if you don't remember, was the evil colonel killed in the first movie, but his memories were transferred into an Avatar Na'vi body in the second movie, and his human form was Spider's dad. To save the children, Jake and Quaritch briefly cooperate, but both are taken prisoner. Varang forces Quaritch to teach her how to use guns, and then prepares to execute all of her prisoners, until Kiri uses Iwa-linked plants to help them escape. Back at the reef, Neytiri recovers while Loak reconnects with our favorite character from Part 2, Peacan, who's been banished by the whale-like Tulkun for helping the Na'vi fight humans. Meanwhile, the RDA becomes obsessed with Spider, realizing his transformation could allow humans to colonize Pandora without masks. To capture Spider and Jake, Quaritch allies with Varang, supplying her tribe with weapons. They also become lovers. Spider is captured, and Jake surrenders himself to prevent a massacre. At the RDA base, Jake faces execution while Spider is studied like a lab rat. Neytiri attacks the base, and a rogue RDA marine biologist grabs a bulldozer to help Jake escape. Jake realizes the RDA won't kill Spider because he's too valuable, and briefly considers killing Spider himself before stopping. General Ardmore, played by Edie Falco, launches a full-scale assault on the Reef people, while Captain Scoresby plans to slaughter a gathering of Tulkun for profit. Jake reclaims his flying dragon creature Toruk, and unites multiple Na'vi clans. The Tulkun initially refuse to fight until Loak returns with Peacan, and the whales decide, Screw centuries of being peaceful, let's kill some sky people. Na'vi and Tulkun forces devastate the RDA fleet, but Quaritch and the Ash people counterattack, killing several semi-important characters. With defeat looming, Kiri directly connects to Iwa, who commands Pandora's wildlife to destroy the remaining human forces. The RDA flagship is destroyed, with the general on board. Neytiri confronts Varang and nearly loses until Kiri intervenes, saying, "Get away from my mother, you bitch," and forcing Varang to retreat. Then Jake and Quaritch have their final showdown as Quaritch tries to abscond with Spider. In their fight, Spider is almost knocked off one of the floating rocks. Quaritch dives to save Spider's life, but is hanging precariously, and Jake must pull them both to safety. Jake offers Quaritch a place among the Na'vi, but he throws himself off the rock, committing suicide instead of joining the hippie commune. After the battle, Spider connects to the spirit tree, meets the deceased Na'vi, and is formally accepted into the clan alongside Kiri, as Miley Cyrus sounds like she'd rather be anywhere else, and credits roll.
As we get started, as you say, this movie is going to assume you saw the last movie. No effort will be made to really catch you up on who these characters are. There's not even opening credits or intertitles or anything like that. We just jump right in.
I disagree. I think that some of this clunky dialogue at the beginning is entirely here to remind you. They assume you've seen part 2, but they don't assume you just rewatched part 2. This whole opening of the two brothers, "Come on, bro! Let's go, bro!" God, if I took a shot every time they said bro. But the whole thing about Nitium, "How did I die?" Loak, "Oh, I said we should go back for Spider. It's all my fault." And then you see Kiri and Spider saying, "I wish I had a head tail so I could link with Iwa, and I wish I could breathe air." And Kiri saying, "Well, I wish I could do it, but I am gonna have spasms and die if I link with Iwa," reminding you of all these little subplots from the beginning through dialogue nobody would say because all these characters know these things already.
Yes, they do catch you up on where the characters are at. My point was entirely that there's no scroll, right? Even the title of the movie, they're holding back on all of that until the end. But yes, the writing has not gotten any better. When Loak, who's now the narrator of the film, he's the younger son I barely paid attention to, but now he's sort of posited kind of as the central character, maybe the star of future sequels. But yeah, when he makes that comment about the fire of hate leaves only the ash of grief, I'm groaning. The writing is terrible.
I'm kind of glad that they did the awkward recap at the beginning because I think I had blocked out Way of Water and I didn't even remember that the brother died.
That's what I'm saying. It's actually really a confusing moment having just watched Way of Water. I'm like, is that the brother? I have trouble telling who's who, but I'm like, I thought he died last movie. It's when he makes that comment about how did I die? It's a moment of pause. You realize suddenly, oh, this is not real. Or rather, and this is kind of an interesting thing about Avatar, reality and dreams are kind of interchangeable. It's part of the understanding of Pandora that when you plug in, the afterlife and the life are on the same continuum.
When I saw them flying at the beginning and calling each other bro, I was like, is this a flashback to before his brother died? Because I just rewatched part 2. Or all the teens call each other bro. So I'm like, is this just another Na'vi teen? Because not to be speciest, but a lot of the Na'vi look pretty similar to me. I couldn't remember what the older brother or younger brother looked like coming into this. So when he finally says, "How did I die?" I'm like, oh, okay, we're having a dream sequence here.
It's not just a dream sequence. In this world, you can plug into Awa and have more time with your dead. Nothing really ever dies, that they kind of live in this other space. I mean, it's a cool concept. It makes the indigenous people seem more in touch with their culture than the invaders, than the pink people, but it also brings up a problem, which is why Zoe Saldana is so upset if she could go see her son anytime she wanted to.
I think she's just angry for a lot of reasons, though. She's angry about everything, and we'll see that more. She is a woman who has no rationality to a lot of her anger. She's just angry to be pissy.
I mean, her forest burned up, her dad is dead, her son is dead.
I get it, but then she's with the guy that came to do it, and she stayed with him.
Yeah, but again, couldn't she go see all these things that she's lost just by plugging in her braid?
I think so, but his future is gone. He's dead. You know, he has no place to go except exist in the spirit tree, which, much like human versions of heaven, sounds pretty damn boring if you're just sitting around a tree the whole time and you're not actually going and doing anything. I don't feel like that's a different plane of existence. I almost wondered, in fact, if you know how they took a backup of Quaritch's memories and put him in the Na'vi body? I almost wondered if when the Na'vi link with Iwa, if it's not just like when I back up my laptop to the cloud and it's keeping a copy of the memories of the person, which is why the brother has to ask, how did I die? It's not the brother, it's a copy of the brother's memories. In fact, a couple of the human scientists are going to equate Iwa to a computer network with a firewall and everything. So I don't think he's still alive. I just think this is a representation of a dead person.
I don't think that's what the movie's telling us. It's all about what you believe. I see the corollaries between the human world, the sky people, and the natives, and they have the same stuff, but they think of it differently. But I definitely think we're to think of Neteum as being still there for his brother. That was a really amazing sequence, by the way. Just that flying around stuff, if that's all you can do, it's thrilling. Loak will say later, when I'm flying, I feel like my brother is still with me. You get that because we have this opening flight sequence.
I guess it's just not very clearly defined what the afterlife is for the Na'vi. I mean, the end of this movie, we're going to see a whole bunch of ghost Na'vi, and it reminded me of the end of Titanic, you know? When Rose died, did she really become young again and go with the ghosts of Titanic? Or is that just a representation or perhaps even the last memory of a dying woman? We don't really know. It's up to interpretation.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there, but I think the interpretation is for these people, it's just as real as their daily lives.
But everybody is treating the death like we would treat a death. Jake is pissed off and blames his son and is spending all his time gathering guns for the next attack. While yes, Neytiri is in some mourning phase that is ritualistic for the Na'vi, where she has to wear a veil like an Italian lady and has streaked mascara.
You say Jake blames Loak, and I think that's true. We do have him snapping, and they do have a couple scenes where he almost tells him, you're the reason why Neteum died, but he also says to Neytiri, it's my fault, I'm supposed to be the protector of this family. All of these people, their anger is at themselves, right? The healing of grief, what this movie is about, the big theme of grief, is that they have to forgive themselves and find a way to move on.
They move on pretty quickly, though, because the action starts, but after they do their blaming of each other or internally, but then blame themselves externally, we kind of don't get much of a break when it starts with a bunch of action because the Wind Traders show up and they start talking about moving Spider.
Yeah, I don't think that they're over their grief. If anything, it reminded me a lot of the moment when Dad sat the family down and told me the family dog couldn't stay because he was digging holes under the fence and crapping in the house, right? Sometimes families have this moment of like, we're taking one of your family members and we're ripping him out because he's not allowed to be here anymore.
That's a horrifying story, Stuart.
No, I lost my dog, and the kids treat it very much the same way. We've already lost one brother, and now you're taking away a feral kid that they just sort of adopted. He was left behind. But because he always has to breathe through these masks, and this air is not made for him, wouldn't he be better off living in the high camp with the other humans?
While he may want to live with the Sullys, having rewatched part 2, he was friends with the Sullys, but he lived at the science camp. He played with the kids all his life growing up, but the only reason he was with the Reef people is because Quaritch kidnapped him and took him to the RDA base, and then in the big fight, he ended up at the Reef people back with the Sullys, but he may want to stay with his friends, but it's not like he was settled in, he wasn't living there, he wasn't a true family member. He will become one during the course of this movie, adopted like Kiri, but at this point, his I don't want to go back, I'm fine with oxygen masks, throwing a little tantrum about it, it feels like he's old enough that he could deal with this in a more mature way.
This is the only family he's ever known, and they're kicking him out, and that feels like crap. And yeah, of course he doesn't want to be at the science camp where there's no other kid. What's he going to do? It's there if you want it. It's complicated for this family. Now, Neytiri obviously has her own agenda. She has just decided she hates human beings, and every time she looks at him, when he has one of his spells where he forgets the air in his mask, she's like, good, well, let it run out. But everyone else, yeah, it's complicated because he is a part of the family, but he's not a Sully.
I still found this kid really annoying. I hated him in Way of Water, and I still don't like the way he acts in this movie. Perhaps he's meant to be annoying. I mean, they call him Monkey Boy. He just irritates me to no end every time he's on the screen.
You guys aren't going to like this comparative, but it's like when Jar Jar comes in to the Phantom Menace.
Oh, no, that's fine. I get it. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think that this guy has a heart of gold, though, like Jar Jar. Jar Jar only wants to be with his friends. That's why he does everything.
This guy's got the same agenda. He's just Encino Man. It's just annoying.
But they do go with these traders who have very cool Hindenburg-like Zeppelin ships to fly with all of their goods. And Jake negotiates with Spider that we'll go back and see the rock people. And I had a misconception coming in. I didn't care to watch any trailers for this, but because the first one took place mostly in air, and the second one was called The Way of Water and took place in water, the third one being called Fire and Ash, I thought was going to explore a volcanic region of Pandora, and Jake would meet a new tribe and learn new cultures, and every movie was going to be Jake just linking up with a new type of Na'vi and learning more about Pandora and Iwa and all of that. So when the ships get attacked and crash, I'm like, oh, this is how he's going to get stranded in the volcanic region. None of that happens. The Fire and Ash, yes, is far more metaphorical about Neytiri's emotional states, the fire of hate, the ash of grief, as well as the Ash tribe that will be attacking. But no, we're going to revisit a lot of familiar ground in this movie, not so much new ground.
I'll beg to differ a little. I get your point that we aren't going to spend the whole movie in an active volcano, but I do think that every poster I've seen, every commercial I've seen has teased the idea of Orang. You can't miss that there's this crazy chick with a headdress that's going to come out of a volcano and be some kind of malevolent force. We're told that they're raiders, that the way they survive is when traders pass by, they grab the goods. But it's particularly interesting for her because she's never seen guns before. And that's because the Na'vi don't touch guns, ever. They have this whole superstition about steel equals death or whatever. And it's only because of Jake that the guns are on this ship, and now she wants them. And that's sort of the kickoff. This is sort of the inciting incident for everything that's going to happen.
Again, I didn't watch trailers. I had no idea that there was going to be evil Na'vi. It always seemed to be Na'vi are holy and untouchable, and humans are the evil ones. So that there was actually evil Na'vi, and that they look this cool was a surprise to me. That this is, Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter? That was kind of a shock to me, too. I didn't realize. But I like this attack. It's kind of a cool raider attack. I wish there was a lot more of the kamikaze attack where when she thinks they're losing, Varang sets one of her own followers on fire. He holds up like a thing of flammable liquid as she shouts, "I am the fire." It was reminding me of Fury Road with the "Remember me, I will die glorious on the Fury Road," shiny and chrome, the way he is excited to get set on fire by this woman and then just crash his flaming self into the trader's ship.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're going for. And it might not be that good because, again, Fury Road was so practical. This one has the magic of CGI, but it's still damn impressive. When we see Jake using his knife to hang on to these balloons and writing down the balloons, and all the flying around on the Banshees. Yeah, this stuff is great. It's a thrilling action scene. No matter what you think of these characters, visually this is super exciting.
I can't agree more.
Yeah, this one was good. I like action scenes like this that feature, I want to say the word antiquated technology, like the riding in a balloon, a Zeppelin, if you will. And you've got to deal with blowing up the balloon and the fire it causes. I thought it was good. The flying around was impressive because we didn't get to see a lot of that before. And then the problem I had is it immediately delved into the kids get in trouble again.
Look, I'll just put it bluntly. I never wanted these kids. I liked Avatar when it was about Jake. And now that Sam Worthington has failed to rise as a star and they realize they need to put their eggs in a different basket, bro, dude, where's my comms? Like, I feel like that's what it has become. And I wish that weren't the case. And I'll tell you what really drives me nuts. Because I love Sigourney Weaver, but whenever she's like, Earth Mother, we need help. Earth Mother, I need this. Earth Mother, I need $50 so I can go to the mall. I'm glad I don't have kids. I am glad I don't have kids. I can't stand her.
I have a problem with her voice because it's obviously a child, but it sounds like Sigourney Weaver. And I have so much trouble when she's speaking because it's not Sigourney Weaver. And you're right, she is awful whiny and annoying.
Oh, I can't stand her in this movie.
Okay, I don't like her character arc in this movie. I feel like it's underexplained and overwrought, but she's also a very small part of this movie. She's underserved in this film.
You think so? Not me. I feel like this is the movie that tells us the adults need to step back and let the kids take control. Both Loak and her are going to prove that they're ready to lead, and Sam Worthington can go and make another geezer teaser.
Does he do that? I have no idea what he does.
He did one TV show about Mormons that wasn't bad, actually, Under the Banner of Heaven. I don't know if you saw it.
No, I wanted to watch it. I heard it was good.
Yeah, it was pretty good, and that is about the only thing non-Avatar that I've seen him do since that Terminator movie.
But I don't mind these kids as much this time as I do last time. I think part of that is because they're in more action scenes. It's less, oh, my whale friend, I'm so sad and you're so sad, and more, hey, crap, we're being attacked by these scary looking ash people who really do look like zombie Na'vi, the way they painted themselves and everything. It's a really cool look. Probably the best designs since the first film. You know, I like them a lot more than just the teal reef people. And so the kids being on the run, Spider running out of oxygen, I'm finding this to be more exciting because it is less mopey and whiny.
Okay, but Loak just keeps making dumbass mistakes and getting them in trouble. They have to be rescued by Jake or somebody else. And that's like the whole thing. It's just them getting in trouble. That's what The Way of Water was. Everything they do is them, oh, we shouldn't do this, but we're going to do it anyway. And then chaos ensues. Jake comes and fixes it. They do whatever. And then they go back and do the same thing again.
Not this time, though. By the end of it, is my point, that Jake doesn't fix it. And Jake is actually going to say, you were able to do things that I couldn't. Passing a mantle is what I really feel. Like, Loak starts being in trouble about you always don't listen and follow the rules and make things worse. That happens here. You know, they fall to the ground and he has a gun and he shoots these ash people that are coming after them. And that's the thing. Varang had seen guns, but it's not until she finds that body and pulls the bullet out that she realizes, oh, we need this technology. I want to learn thunder.
I think that's the whole arc of this film, is Loak forgiving himself, his father forgiving and coming to respect him. It's everything in this movie is Loak and Jake's relationship and that evolution. If you don't go with that, then the movie's just damned for you.
No, I think there's a heavy emphasis on Kiri learning her purpose and Earth Mother and all that. It's just every time she speaks, I wish she wouldn't. She's like, Earth Mother, why won't you talk to me? 'Cause you sound so annoying. Go to your room.
I honestly feel that while there's quite a bit of that Kiri is underserved. I mean, we get this thing here where they're running from the ash people, Spider's running out of oxygen. One of the things I knew is that Spider would learn to breathe on this planet, and I wondered how that would happen. I don't know how I got that spoiler bit of information in my head, but I did. And so here, when Kiri uses some thunderous echo voice to make Loak listen to her and stop running and put Spider down.
It's like a Reverend Mother voice in Dune.
Yeah, exactly. And so she does this and she doesn't quite know what she's doing, but she's just like, it feels right. And these little tendrils of glowy stuff go over Spider the way we saw go over Sigourney Weaver and Jake in that first movie when they tried to transfer their consciousness into the Avatar bodies permanently. I'm like, okay, this is an interesting development. I wish there was more, and maybe they're just still leaving stuff for future sequels as to why Kiri is the super powerful chosen one. That's what Kate Winslet is going to insinuate later on. But also that Iwa won't talk to the chosen one for whatever reason.
They tell us, I believe they give us all the information we're ever going to get in this movie, but not in this scene. Yes, in this moment, it's a moment of her acting on instinct. She sees these, they look like dandelion petals floating down. In the first movie, they're the reason that Neytiri didn't shoot Jake with an arrow. They sort of represent Awa. It's the Earth Mother trying to give you a sign, an omen. Pay attention to this. That they're floating down. It makes her say, let's stop trying to get him to his air and let me just risk seizure and plug into these roots and make him eat these dandelions and see what happens. And what happens, we'll find out, is it grows this whole network in his lungs, and he wakes up able to breathe the poison Pandora air.
Yeah, this is what they did with Jake and Sigourney Weaver's character. So does this mean he is no longer human? He's more Na'vi? Or is it just they've altered him?
They say later on that it's like a Venom situation. He's got a symbiote living inside of him, and they can't remove the symbiote without killing both of them.
Yeah, I got that, but does that mean he's no longer human? Is that what they've done to him?
That's the philosophical question. And I think throughout these characters, what Cameron's interested in, and I think the corollary is with the identity politics of now, people are evolving in different ways. And isn't it amazing that now we have this human child that can breathe Pandora air and is going to fall in love with Kiri and have presumably a relationship with a Na'vi? Like, what will that look like? What will their kids look like? All of these different ideas are being explored. Quaritch, for example, such a Na'vi hater last time, now reborn in their body. He's gotten a look at this footage and now he's writing in here. He still sees this spider kid as his son. He is still motivated by biology to say, I want Spider in my life.
Cameron said in an interview recently, his early drafts of this story, and again, it was supposed to be one movie, didn't have Spider. He didn't want the technological headache of having a human character in so many scenes where they have to change, the size of the people around them and things. But he said without Spider, all Jake and Quaritch had was animosity. There was no way to get them to connect on any level. And without Spider, every human is bad, every Na'vi is good, And so, because we're humans, watching a movie made by humans, we want to have some kind of human protagonist in there to show #NotAllHumans. And so that's what Spider is.
Well, that's what Jake was, but again, Sam Worthington has just become less important as this saga has gone on, right? Jake just is not that interesting anymore. But I agree, I really do like what this does for his character. He's there down on the ground trying to reach people on the comms, and that he runs into Quaritch, and normally they just yank him away and execute him, but they have to work together to find Spider. They find Spider's mask, they know that kid needs it so badly, they don't know what Kiri has done to his lungs, and so these are enemies having to collaborate for a common cause. And that will run throughout the movie.
I came into this movie very scared that this movie would be Quaritch's redemption. That he would have that arc. And he does, but it's not as cheesy as I expected it to be. I expected that to be almost as bad as Kylo Ren in Rise of Skywalker, where he has his ghost dad show up and is like, well, now I'm going to go be good and kill the Emperor. I hated that turn. It was undeserved for such an evil character. I felt like Quaritch shouldn't have that. But I'm glad that for most of this movie, he is prime evil.
Yeah, what's interesting is Jake wants him to connect with Awa, but who he connects with is Varang. And boy, is that a commingling I love. And I feel like the theater loves. The best part of this movie is their Mickey and Mallory routine.
Here, she demands he show her how to use guns, but then's ready to kill him. Like, okay, now I know how to use a gun. What do I need you for? And he's tied right up with Jake. And I do like the line, there's very little dialogue that I like in this movie. I find most of the lines thud really painfully. But when Quaritch says to Jake, they really know they're not, because neither of these guys can get out of the bindings they're in. I kind of found that line funny. If I like a line, it's probably coming from Quaritch, actually, because his line should be more human sounding, and he does talk like a human.
Quaritch is great. Quaritch has a comeback. I did not like him in the last movie, but Stephen Lang, and again, the way that the motion capture gets to his facial reactions, I'm always looking at him however he responds. That they're all tied up, but he's been able to start his flirtation with this Varang chick. They all get away, but he's going to come back to her. He sees something in her that makes him want to connect with Pandora in a way he never has wanted to before.
To quote another franchise, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Or my hookup.
Yeah, exactly. I thought this was a very interesting way they did it. I think it's very much like the white men in America that are racist except against their Spanish or Filipino wives because that's their wife. That's different.
You mean Sean Penn in...
Yes, Sean Penn in One Battle After Another. Yes. So I think that's interesting they did that. He full on moved in with her and became one with her.
It's all of Act 2 for him. That's his journey. But yes, that thin line between love and hate. That you can hate something so much that there's also something else there, right? That part of what makes us detest so much is attraction. But anyway, yes, we're in Act 2. The Na'vi kids all get away thanks to Kira. She's able to make plants spit thorns, and Neytiri is able to get back on her Banshee and bring the help, and they all get back to High Camp. And then to me, the movie revolves from this point forward around 3 subplots. All of them questions about belongingness. What are we going to do about Spider? What are we going to do about Kiri? And what are we going to do about that whale that I don't care anything about?
You're seeing ties and parallels to these stories that I didn't catch even on 2 viewings. The thing that really was getting me and my audience during this is actually Neytiri, because Varang shot her through the shoulder and she took a fall. And especially the second time I saw this in that packed IMAX screen, the audience just gasped audibly and thought she was dead. And then she falls through the leaves and the vines. I'm like, oh, we're not seeing this fall if she isn't going to survive it barely.
Right. They wouldn't show it at all if she were dead. But yeah, I, for a half second, believed it too. I was like, oh, wow. Then I'm like, nah. No, she's got to come back from her grief. She's been too hateful and spiteful. But she remains so in Act 2 as they're analyzing Spider and looking in his lungs. And I was both thinking about other Cameron movies, you know, the way the face hugger is connected to its host, or the way that the divers use that liquid oxygen in the abyss. It seems to be that this is James Cameron thinking about the way we transform when we come across something alien. And she doesn't like it. She does not want to see him change. And I guess they have reason to fear. They do cut back to the bad guy base. And in one of his brief scenes, Giovanni Ribisi is like, yeah, if we can figure out how to do what Spider's doing, it'll be easy to conquer Pandora.
And Giovanni Ribisi, it's funny because when I rewatched part 1, I actually posted to our Facebook group, when is the last time I thought about Giovanni Ribisi? I could not think about that. It turned out somebody reminded me, and I had forgotten, he's become a cinematographer. He shot Strange Darling, and he was the DP on that and has really been working behind the scenes more. I guess he was also in those Kevin Costner Horizon movies, but I will never watch those, so I will not know.
As was Sam Worthington, actually. And yes, I haven't seen him either.
But yeah, I was shocked to see him in front of the camera here. He had like 5 seconds of screen time in part 2 in an old tape that was made during the timeline of part 1. So I didn't think we'd see Giovanni Ribisi back. He probably, was on set for 2 days? He's barely in the movie.
Or has tons of scenes that just did make this cut. This 3-hour, 17-minute cut.
That's true. It was 4 hours in test screenings. And they could have cut more.
Yeah, it is a long movie. But at this point, I just want to say, just checking in, I felt like this first hour has been pretty exciting. Act 2 becomes a challenge because it becomes more diffuse. The focus isn't as obviously about one character. It really helped that Jake was always the focal character in part 1. And now that we have a family, and a family I don't really like, it's just harder to care. Spider, I never liked him.
I can't stand that character, and this was absolute torture for me because it focused so much on him and the kids. I agree with you, this is the least interesting part, and they did nothing here to make us care.
I actually had a very different reaction than you, Marjorie. I checked my watch at the 1 hour mark and went, well, son of a bitch, I'm kind of having a good time. But then I thought to myself, yeah, tell me that in 2 more hours. You are only a third of the way done. In most movies, if I'm having a good time at the 1 hour mark, I'm 2/3 to halfway done, and I can say pretty safely that I liked the movie. But this thing's a marathon, not a sprint.
And again, what are you paying attention to? I hear, Arnie, that you aren't paying attention to Kiri, but she has a big moment here. She goes to her grandmother and is just like, I want to know where I came from. I feel like this weirdo. And what gets said is, when Sigourney Weaver's human character, Grace, died, Awa put a seed in her. So this is a immaculate conception. This is a divine birth. There is no father. She is the daughter, the most direct descendant of the daughter of Mother Earth. And that is why she has these Mother Earth powers. It's why that when she plugs in to the roots, she can make them do things that other people can't. But Awa has put up a firewall, and that's what these seizures are. She doesn't want her daughter talking to her. Again, that voice, talk to me in a reasonable tone and I'll see you. But yeah, there's something about Mother that is withholding. She does not want daughter to look upon her yet.
And what a groaner line. I'm thinking Jesus when I'm thinking Immaculate Conception, right? A mother with no father. I'm also thinking Anakin Skywalker. So I'm thinking about these big mythic figures, right? And so when Kiri here finds out that she is like Jesus, her response line, oh, that really sucks. Oh my God. Why would you write that line for that moment?
Because she's a teenager. I mean, I actually laughed at that line because I felt like, yeah, that's how a teenager would respond to finding out that they're Jesus Christ. And again, don't forget that James Cameron always has championed the feminine. That's been a huge theme, the way that he celebrated women in action films. That he's actually turned Jesus into a woman, I think, is pretty progressive.
I didn't like how they told her, though. I mean, I was expecting a bigger shock than what we got. I mean, the way they treated it, it's like they were going to tell her that she was Buzzcut's daughter or something. They treated it so seriously.
I mean, again, she's a weirdo.
It is. However, you have to suspend belief with these people. They have all kinds of mystical traditions. They have tales that they connect with, and it doesn't seem that far-fetched.
For them, it is. It's a hard swallow. You even see it in Kate Winslet. She's really pissed. She has a scene with Neytiri where she's putting on some bandages or something, but she's really pissed that you let your daughter turn one of the sky people into an air breather. They end up hissing at each other. Nobody likes Kiri because what she's doing, particularly with Spider, is seen as a threat to their culture.
Absolutely. I agree that he is.
But you guys are talking about what you don't like, and I'm more or less rolling with this movie. And I'm ready to talk about something that I never will like, and that is this damn whale. This damn whale. Why did they do it? I know that Dune, it's such a great thing that Paul conquers the sandworms. That's a huge part of that story. And I feel like Cameron wanted to touch that in this ecological message, that we can have these trans-species brotherhoods where Loak and Payakan can be bros. But it's terrible. It's so terrible. Every scene of this, I cannot stand.
I laughed every single time that they put the subtitles on the screen for the whales because it was such awkward and clunky translations. I don't think I was supposed to laugh during that, but I found those amusing.
No, the best laugh of the whole movie is they call this council in, all these Tolkoons or whatever. They're whales. I'm going to call them whales. Sorry. This Tolkoon society comes together and they're like, we're mad at Payakan because even though he saved everyone in Avatar 2, he did it with violence and something about the deaths of the dead are on him. He's at fault for Neteyam. Everyone is sharing this responsibility about who killed Neteyam. Well, he did it. He broke our code and they sent him off. And his final goodbye is, you will never hear my song again. And I'm like, good.
Yes.
Even in part 2, every time the whales spoke, I'm like slapping my head. This seems like something you infer, not subtitle. You know, like Chewbacca. Chewbacca never had subtitles. I understood everything Chewbacca was saying. I could have gone that way with the whales, that they subtitled it when he goes, "I'm taking my song and going home."
Yes!
It's
It's
like-
hysterical! Again, so huffy. And you know what? Cameron's not wrong. Teenagers are overdramatic and silly. And you know what? I'm not a father. So maybe this is not resonating with me for that reason. I think dramatically these scenes, the stuff with Loak and his whale, the Free Willy stuff, it's got to go. This movie's too long, and this is the thing that I would get rid of.
I hated that stuff in part 2 and hated it again on rewatching part 2. And when they brought it all back here, and they're still mad at Peacon for having aggressive tendencies, and we're still hitting that same drum beat, I'm like, well, shit, I was enjoying that first hour, now it's time for Dances with Whales. Fortunately, it is only 20 minutes of the movie, I dare say. It's not short enough, but it's not like the last one. It felt like an hour was Loak and the whale and having their ritual where he flew in the whale's mouth like Jonah and connected with the whale and found the whale's history. Here, anything Peacon specifically, I don't mind the Tulak as a plot device or as a peaceful, powerful people, but I don't like Peacon and Loak's brohood, and so this is annoying. And it's just a repeat of what we saw last time. Loak like, it's not fair! And Sully dragging Loak away and being like, nope, the Tulak are right, we gotta get rid of Peacon.
And yet, last movie I felt like it was Disney family friendly, and Cameron this time is willing to go darker on all these storylines. Loak is going to go and get a gun and potentially blow his brains out on the beach. Like, there's a suicide attempt that happens, and that just tonally, I could feel the audience recoil from that moment.
That was such a shocker and so like out of left field that they would put something like that in this movie. I just felt like, whoa, what are we doing here? Is there going to be something happening later on too that's going to shock? But I did not expect that whatsoever.
Yeah, killing Spider. That's a similar moment.
There are 2 moments in this film where I'm excited that they're going to go really dark. This is one of them. It's not that I want to see anybody kill themselves, but I want to see drama. I want to see the repercussions of this. I want to see Jake, who Neytiri is saying, go after him or you'll lose another son. I want to see that literalized. I want to see Jake go through the fire and ash Neytiri is going through, suffering the guilt, not only that his decisions led to the circumstances that killed his older son, but that he caused his younger son to kill himself. Oh my God, that is drama that's enticing me. And because he doesn't pull that trigger, when the credits rolled, there's a scene, Marjorie sent me a meme that said, if you're having thoughts of self-harm, call this number. And the person in the meme said, yeah, I want to kill myself because Pandora isn't real, being sarcastic. I'd forgotten there was this beat of an almost suicide because it doesn't pay off to anything. It's just over-dramatizing his teenage angst. But if he'd pulled that trigger, I'd have been impressed.
I wonder if you'd feel the same way if Luke put a lightsaber through his face. I mean, if you like these characters, you would not want them to commit suicide. You would want them to find a way to live again.
I think that the suicide was supposed to hit harder. The fact that we saw the older brother die in the last one, that we're supposed to think all bets are off on this and that another big death will happen and maybe this will really get us on the edge of our seat. And I did not have that feeling, but I think that was the intent, is to show that, you know, we killed somebody last movie. We're not afraid to do it this time.
You are spot on, Marjorie. Cameron egotistically and incorrectly equates the death of the older son in part 2 to the Red Wedding shocker scene in Game of Thrones and said, now that we've killed a son, you don't know who we're going to kill next. So you got exactly what Cameron was trying to do. And yeah, I'll agree. I think there's too many kids. I think you could kill Took and not lose a beat in this movie. Took is so underutilized in this film. Why is she even in it?
The 8-year-old girl you want dead.
I want her out of the film. I want to narrow down our character list.
This is not that kind of movie. This is a movie about a family that's a fortress that stays together and never quits. They're not going to kill off some minor family members for being inconsequential.
Then can't we just drop her off at grandma's and forget her?
No, she's got to get kidnapped a couple more times. And what this movie's asking us is, okay, I got one brother killed, but I can help my whale brother. And so he's going to head out with his girlfriend and the girlfriend's brother and some other dude that doesn't seem to matter. And they're all going to ride out to find this banished whale and encounter these deep sea squids and all this stuff cut. All of this stuff's got to go.
Are all three of those kids the chief's kids? I thought they were like all siblings, like the girlfriend and the two boys. Are they all the chieftain's children?
No, you have Tessere, who is the girlfriend. Her brother is Anung, and then the guy that will eventually be killed is Anung's friend, Roxto.
Okay, so the guy who dies has no importance at all. The flat-nosed one, I was curious about if that was the chieftain's son. Did the chieftain lose his wife and his son, or did the chieftain just lose his wife?
I want to point out that they gave these kids the modern kid haircut that all the Zoomers are getting now, the perm on top that looks like broccoli. That is like so in with the Zoomers now for some reason. It looks ridiculous.
We're talking about what I don't like in this movie. Let's talk about my favorite thing in this movie. Quaritch and Varang. You can feel it in the audience. I'm curious about your screening. Like, people did not expect it to get as horny as it does. When he goes to her with the guns and she's like, come into my teepee, I could literally feel like adults pulling away from their kids and giggling amongst themselves. Like they're going to try this tonight. Let's snort something, do a little bit of cutting and licking the blood. It's kinky.
I did not expect to have that in the movie. I didn't know that they were going to hook up and become an item. I think it's a parallel between these white men who marry a foreigner and then are racist against that foreign group, but their spouse doesn't matter. And that's where Buzzcut was. He was doing that, basically. He still wanted to kill the Na'vi. The question is, like, I know there's going to be another one of these movies, but is he going to turn on her? Or are they all dead?
I think he's dead.
Hold that thought. He's coming back because you can upload his consciousness however many times you want.
Plus, we never saw the corpse. Anytime you don't see a corpse, we saw Natiri fall from a great height and get caught by vines. We don't know what happened to Quaritch at the end of this one. It's possible he got away. I kind of hope this is the end of his arc. But I'll agree with you, Stuart. Now, my audiences were not as into this, I don't think. Both times I saw this movie, my audiences were rude as phones out, talking, taking their shoes off. Put your feet back in your shoes. I am not Quentin Tarantino. I don't want to see or smell that dirty shit. Put your shoes on. So I saw a lot of people just talking about other things during these scenes. I overheard a lot of conversations about where do you want to go after the movie for dinner. I didn't get people were into this as much as I was. I liked the whole who's Quaritch loyal to. His sniper is kind of our Greek chorus, because earlier when Quaritch teams up with Sully to save Spider, it's the sniper like, what are you doing, Colonel? And then here, when the sniper is saving Quaritch, because, yeah, Varang has already said she'll kill Quaritch previously, Quaritch just points and says, this one, and the sniper, boom, this is why I love a sniper. And so Quaritch is like, you're next, and then when he's going into the tent with her, I'm thinking what the sniper's saying. You are losing your sniper cover. What are you doing, Colonel? Then when he gets the truth serum, and yet he's still very much himself. Usually when we see truth serum hit somebody, you almost see a different side of the person come out. His truth serum is, I don't answer to anyone, and I'm here to give you what you need, an equal with guns. That turns her on even more than the thought of a sex slave.
Yeah, it gets kinkier and kinkier. It's very S&M. She finally explains the title. The most that we get of it is that they were a thriving society that was destroyed by lava, right? The volcano erupted. She says the fire came from the mountain. Lava destroyed these people, and now they've had to turn into raiders. It's not like they were evil. They just have no other recourse to getting their forest is gone. They could move, right? They don't have to rob the wind traders, but they've chosen to stay on the volcano and raid. And now she has the opportunity with guns to go and conquer all the other Na'vi.
This is also where she mentioned that Awa did not help them. the great and all-powerful let her people die / starve and get killed, which didn't pay off really.
I think it is because it's her versus Kiri. Earlier, when she had Kiri captured, Kiri was like, great mother bullshit. And she was like, shut up. She has no dominion here, right? Like, I don't want to hear that. This is a myth that you talk about, and it didn't protect me and my people. And now my people are going to conquer your people. And of course, Kiri and her are going to go at it in the climax.
Varang's plot of, like, I want to conquer the planet is very flat. It's very comic book movie, very Skeletor. You know, what do you do when you actually conquer a planet? Do you really want all that bureaucracy? But nonetheless, as flat of a bad guy motivation as it is, I love Chaplin's performance here as this Varang, and I love what Chaplin brings out of Stephen Lang, and how Stephen Lang can be morally gray. You know, while she is evil incarnate, he's able to play with that and appreciate the evil and the desire to conquer, because as a military man, that's his own instinct. But he's never going to be as ruthless as she is. Every time he's given the choice of killing people, massacring, he always pulls back.
Well, he wants Jake. We don't know. We have some montages of them riding into villages, and she has this trick with her braid where she can connect it to the leader's braid and make them scream in purple pain.
Isn't that how they have sex as braid connection? Isn't that what we saw in part 1? So is she like raping everyone when she does this?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that's dark.
It is dark. But eventually they get to the reef people, and he's got the people out there, and he has the military might. He has them turn flamethrowers onto their homes. So they don't have no cool huts and trampolines anymore. And he's ready to go forward. But when Jake makes the deal of, I'll come in, we could scalp you. We could all die scalping each other. Or I could just come in. That's enough for Quaritch. It's not enough for Varang.
And Quaritch, it wasn't enough for initially, because Jake was like, I'll come in, and Quaritch is like, nah, it can't just be you, we want your wife too. And that's when Jake is ready to go to war, and is like, yeah, all of us may die, but you will die. I will make sure you die a lot, which was a clunky line that did make my audience laugh the second time. They liked you die a lot as a line. But that's when he does pull back. He agrees to go without Neytiri and just take Jake. So Jake wins this negotiation. And we didn't mention, but during this also, when Quaritch was raiding the villages, what he was looking for was Spider. So he got Spider, too, before confronting Jake.
Which is, again, to my point. It's not enough just to have my biological son back. I want the guy that I raised as a son in the Marines who turned against our whole troop and got his fellow men killed. That anger is still with him. That fire is why he wants Jake executed. It's a military thing. And they make a military Marine promise in this moment. But we're not going to talk too much about the military in this movie. But Edie Falco, I don't know why she took this part. I don't know that she's used very well. But she does have one good scene here where she has to look at Quaritch coming in with these crazy Na'vi ash people and be okay with it, right? She just watched this guy arm the enemy and now moving into her base. But what is she going to do? She's going to turn to the cameras and smile and wave and pretend like this was her plan all along.
Yeah, the way Quaritch is like, don't be a jackass, take the win. And I think a general outranks a colonel. So he's saying that to his superior, showing what he said to Varang earlier, I don't answer to anyone. Rank is irrelevant to him. He's in charge of everything in his mind.
In his mind, yes. I'm not sure, being that he came back as a Na'vi and that they kind of own his soul on a card, again, they can bring him back, I assume, as many of him as they want. He's pretty much in trouble at this point. She wants to put him in the doghouse, but he gets to have his moment with his son, right? They bring Spider in and have him poked and prodded. I think the damage is already done, right? They probably got a sample of the stuff in his lungs, and by Avatar 4, humans will have the technology to breathe on the planet without masks.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a given here.
I found it very telling that Giovanni Ribisi talks to one of the scientists and is like, I don't care what it does, meaning James Cameron doesn't have to write technobabble. Tell me, can we reproduce it? And we cut away before there's an answer. So that tells me the answer is not a definitive no, we can't. And in 3D, I heard people gasp like hell when Spider gets that scope down his throat, because in 3D, that scope is in your face and going down his throat so far. It was truly an impactful way of using 3D, is to think about choking this kid with that scope forcefully. If you go back to the alien facehugger analogy you brought up, Stuart, I mean, they're basically mouth raping this boy in 3D.
No, it's a moment. Baby Spider's first sympathetic moment. He gets one more good scene. Like, they have him in this room, he can't get out, but Dad goes in there, and he thinks he's playing him. He's like, son, you should have known your mother. She was a hero. I love you.
I'd like to know his mother. Was it Michelle Rodriguez? Who the hell was this kid's mother?
This guy was, a Marine, right? He catted around. He probably had a lot of kids. Like, this was just some woman I knocked up that I didn't want to have anything to do with. But I'm going to pretend like she was this great woman that meant a lot to me. And you're going to call me dad and ask for my dog tags. And I'm going to feel like I'm a good dad at last. But Spider plays him. Spider doesn't really want these dog tags because he admires Quaritch. He wants them because now he can pick the vent and get out of captivity.
I found it really funny that it looked like Quaritch, the burger he gave him, was a Big Mac. It was like wrapped in yellow paper like a McDonald's burger. I'm like, in hundreds of years in the future, did McDonald's win the franchise wars? Is there an Avatar Happy Meal right now?
I actually assume that that's what it is.
They also have Sully in a public cage, and here comes, out of left field for me, the first viewing. And the second viewing, I see this character is peppered in throughout, but there is a marine biologist working for the general who earlier was looking at the wreckage to see if Sully was dead, and he's like, there's no Na'vi bodies, but I found a great algae, and everybody's ignoring him, and he actually says, am I on mute? And then when they're talking about killing all the whales, he's like, you're gonna wipe out a species, and Edie Falco's like, your objection is noted, and that's all. He is so disgruntled an employee, he's going to steal a bulldozer to free Jake, and then never be seen in this movie again.
Totally a functional character. You might recognize him because it's Jermaine Clement, and he's a comedian of note, Flight of the Conchords, if you watch that show. I think he stands out for that reason. But yes, he's the consciousness. He's the only one cringing when they kill a whale to get a small vial of fluid. And that's what Edie Falco keeps saying. Like, I just want to build this city so we can get the fluid. It's called Anarita, I think, but maybe she just wants a margarita. I'm not sure. She just wants to get what they came here for and go. And this guy is like, no, we can't keep killing the whales. I appreciate environmentalism. I really do. I'm glad that Cameron is concerned about the planet. I think he probably has studied environmentalism up close, but he did not make me fall in love with these whales. And he did not make me fall in love with this whale lover. He's purely a plot point to break Jake out of the cage. That's what he does.
The thing is, because he is so minor and in the background and unimportant until this moment in the movie, when somebody gets in a bulldozer and says, you can do this, you have a PhD, I'm thinking to myself, this is that scientist who hangs out with the nerdy guy back at the base, because there were two scientists.
Patel?
Yeah, I thought it was Patel at first, because they both have beards, and Patel, at least I knew from previous movies, and Patel going militaristic would be a ironic turn, just as ironic as this marine biologist. The first time I watched, it wasn't until he goes, is my objection noted now, that I fully go, oh, it's that guy. I had no idea who this guy was.
That's why they have that line, so that you remember. They know no one's buying this action figure. They know that Clement hasn't made enough of an impression. But he was in the last movie. I will point out, this is a returning character. And he was partnered with this other guy, this Captain Scoresby, who his whole thing is, I want to get the whale juice. And the climax of this film is building around the idea that they're going to go during this whale communion thing. They're excited. There's going to be an eclipse, and all the whale babies come together with all the Na'vi babies and like plug up to one another. This is prime time to be getting whale juice. And that's why he's getting excited for the climax that we're building towards.
I had forgotten until I rewatched part 2 that this guy lost his arm because of Payakan in the last movie. You know, he's basically a pirate. Shouldn't he have a peg leg? He has a robotic peg arm. I thought it was the wrong limb for him to lose. It would have been more on the nose if it was a peg leg. But he's still out there wanting his billion-dollar whale blubber. And yes, the whole climax is that he's going to massacre. It's kind of like salmon spawning, only the toucan all come together so that their children can commune with Iwa for the first time.
And Navi babies. I mean, they're making it specifically. Remember how Kate Winslet is like, my best friend is a whale? This is where that happens.
Okay. But they don't care about the Navi. They care about the whale blubber.
This captain, yes. Before we get to that, though, it should be noted that we have the only turn that Neytiri is going to have. She comes riding in to save her man, and in the process, she takes Spider too. She's dressed as one of the Ash people. She's got the body paint of the Ash people. She has a moment of fighting Varang in the air that's pretty exciting. We think that they're going to have the big cat fight at the end. I'll be wrong. As she's flying her man home, he realizes what she's been saying. We cannot protect Spider, and what he's harvesting is too dangerous for humans to ever get a hold of. And so they make a pee break, and we have the other really dark moment with the son character.
Again, I think that we're supposed to think that all bets are off here and that Spider's going to die because he has to in order to protect the Na'vi, which they're trying to sell as acceptable, and it's a viable conclusion. It's an interesting scene because Spider knew what was going on, and I think that adds a little drama to it, but I didn't think they were going to kill him. Did you guys?
You know, they use a sound effect. Like, they do this whole thing where, like, no, of course they're not going to kill Spider. That's way too dark. We'll never like Jake again if he does. Sigourney Weaver's complaints will be so shrill, I'll have to leave the theater if Dad killed their adoptive kid. But they do this trick where he's raising Neytiri's dagger, and the way that they cut, and you hear a like it went into something, and then cut to a wider shot and realize they cheated. He just sliced the air, and of course he's not going to kill Spider.
Yeah, they cheated bad with that sound effect. I noticed that the first time, because I didn't think he was going to do it. You know, Neytiri had been saying we should kill him, and I thought that Neytiri's big turn would be that she would stop him. I mean, she tries to stop him. It's really over dramatic that she did her makeup like one of the Ash people, and she's washing it off while Jake goes to kill Spider, and the red makeup is on her hands. She's like Lady Macbeth, out, damn spot, there's blood on my hands. And so she goes running off to stop Jake, but doesn't get there in time. I thought for sure this was her arc, was she'd stop this murder, but no, Jake just pussies out and doesn't do it.
Jake pussies out? Or maybe Jake does the right thing and doesn't kill his child.
Spock would kill this kid. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Jake is right. Humans ruined Earth. And if humans learn how to breathe like Spider, they're going to ruin Pandora. They're going to pollute it. They're going to kill all the Na'vi. They're going to kill all the Tulkan. They're going to come like locusts and ruin the planet. The life of one boy is worth that?
But yet, here's the thing. This is what Avatar truly is about in a nutshell. It's too complicated to untangle. Humans' relationship with their environment, with metal, with the Na'vi, is too love and hate to separate. And we all know this is going to end with everyone united together, right? Humanity is not going to be defeated. They're going to live on Pandora with the Na'vi. That's got to be part 5, without a doubt. Jake says we got to find another way, and that will be the other way. But here's something I don't understand. So Jake early on was like, I brought you guns. And everyone's like, we don't want guns. He's like, well, I brought you guns anyway because we need guns to kill. But I won't be Maruk, whatever the hell it is. I won't be the guy that rides the kill bird and does what I did in the first movie. Why? How are you going to claim pacifism in one breath and then say, light them up with the guns the next?
It is a really muddled message because when I rewatched part 2 and when I listened to our part 2 podcast again, all three of us just thought he was saying goodbye to his best dragon friend because the dragon couldn't swim and was no good around water. And so it was just like, okay, dragon, go off on your own. But no, now he's like, I will not be that man again because when I'm with that dragon, it brings blood. Here, want a gun so we can kill a lot of people?
I know. Like, it does not make sense. There is this theme of pacifism that I think Cameron wants to treat seriously, but in the end, he knows that if there are not action scenes in this movie, no one is going to like it.
I honestly get a weird message from this that I believe is political. Because you got the tool can, right? And they've been pacifists for centuries, millennia, because they know war is the way to cause their own death. And once you start killing, the killing never stops. And the arc is to get them to go, nah, let's kill some shit. And that's a win. And Jake is like, I will not get back on that dragon and kill. And then the win is, come on, dragon, let's go shit up. I think James Cameron is saying leftist hippies have been pacifist for too long and allowed the corporate greed to trample over and ruin the country. And if leftists don't pick up some guns, we're
I kind of agree with what you're saying. I mean, I'm not sure if that's exactly how I would phrase it, but yes, I definitely think that he's finding a middle ground between left and right. Yes, the left has been wrong on the gun issue, and that's how I'm moving towards the center.
I thought he was saying that the left needs to kill the right to save the planet.
But, oh God, this whale scene again. All the kids come back from the squid attack, and they've got their friend and this other one. Like, I don't even understand this. But old Harpoony, who's got like 1 million harpoons and is blind and bleeding and all that. Oh, I feel so bad.
Old Harpoony, that sounds like a character from Cats. I want Andrew Lloyd Webber to write a cat thing for Old Harpoony. Old Harpoony the whale, he's got lots of spears. Oh, Harpoony the whale, he cannot see anymore.
Yeah, it's a bad moment. It's meant to be the moment where Loak shows up Dad, because Dad's been running around giving his speeches and all of this, but this is seen as the turning point. Because he's able to bring up old Harpoony, and Harpoony is so obviously a sympathetic creature who can validate that Payakin, or whatever his name is, was good and right to do this, that's the win. That's where the message for the pacifists is made to be antagonist. All the kids declaring themselves, I am outcast. No, I am outcast. No, I am outcast.
No, I am Spartacus.
Yes. I wanted Andre 3000 and Big Boy to pop up and sing, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Like, no, you're outcast. It should have been a musical moment. It's silly. Again, the whales, you're never going to sell me on this. But that's where we start here. We got, admittedly, some cool ships, some that can turn into crabs and then subs and all. We have the captain sending this fleet in to turn this communion into a massacre. And it's the Toolkins that win. I mean, it's not Jake.
It turns out to be the killer squid, but the Toolkins make the first blows while Jake and the chieftain are hiding and letting the Toolkins go first. It's different than I expected because the Toolkins leave and are non-committal about the attack. And so I thought for sure we were going to see the attack, have the all is lost moment, and then as convenient as it was in Rise of Skywalker when Lando shows up with all those random ships, the Toolkin would come to save the day at the climax. No, the Toolkins are the first ones out of the gate. This whole climax does remind me a lot of a Star Wars movie. Return of the Jedi very specifically in the way that the attack seems planned and then things go negatively and we have a duel.
There's one scene specifically that gave me Jedi vibes, and it was when Loak and Took were watching the battle play out and all hope looked lost. It reminded me of Luke on the Death Star watching the battle play out where it was an ambush with Admiral Akbar and he's telling everybody to retreat. That very much felt like Star Wars to me.
I definitely felt that too. I think composer Simon Franklin here, taking over for Horner, plays just like Williams did in Return of the Jedi, the way the music takes the sad turn, like it does when the Death Star starts blowing up the rebel fleets and Admiral Akbar yells it's a trap.
Yeah, I don't deny that Star Wars set the blueprint for this kind of spectacle, this kind of battle. And of course, took from older movies where everything is theft. But, it's a big climax. I wouldn't say that I'm excited because, again, the whales. But it is a lot to take in. It's a lot of spectacle. And what I'm wondering is, what actually happens? I know that the evil Captain Scoresby, we have Payakin grab him by the legs and drag him down. He is dead.
Probably. We don't actually see a corpse, but yes, probably.
He could come back on prosthetic legs and have the prosthetic hand. Could be a running joke that each time there's less human of him, I suppose. But what happens to Giovanni Ribisi and Edie Falco? There's this big, tornado magnetic field that I don't understand just coming out of the water. It's been there the whole movie. And they're like, don't get too close because you'll get sucked in like a tornado. And I think they get sucked in like a tornado.
Okay, I also didn't know where that came from. It just seemed very out of the blue. And then I had to think, did I miss something? But I also did not want to go back and watch this movie over again to this point. So I was hoping somebody could tell me.
It's there the whole time.
Yeah, it is. They show it on the map several times, and at one point there's a line that it's a magnetic field that will suck up any ship that goes in it, and because the tool can destroy all the motors on the main ship with Edie Falco, then it gets sucked in and Edie Falco stays on the ship. We get a brief shot from behind. The first time I watched it, I'm like, was that Edie Falco? Because Edie Falco says abandoned ship. A lot of people get off the ship. It's sucking up metal, so you could jump in the water. Maybe if you had inflatable rafts that are plastic, you could use those. But I know we see somebody is still on the bridge when the main ship blows up. And I think, even though we see it from behind, it's wearing Edie Falco's hat. So I think Edie Falco is dead, but she got rid of Ribisi. She's like, you're just the CEO's son. And so Ribisi is not here in this fight. He's safe back at the base while Falco led all of her people into this war.
That makes sense. Ribisi's been here since the beginning. I'd expect to see him in 4 and 5. Her, she never amounted to much as a villain, and so she can definitely go away.
I like this fight, though. I like this ending. It is so incredible with the dragons fighting and the water creatures fighting and all of this going on. It is an exciting fight. I can't deny, unlike part 2, where it was such a slog to get to that long climax and then it was lackluster, and the kids just kept getting captured again, and the last one felt so repetitive. Here, it constantly feels like an escalation, the way it looks like the Na'vi have won, and Falco didn't just get rid of Ribisi, she got rid of Quaritch and stripped him of his rank and said, you're done. Well, Quaritch and the Ash people show up here to try to rescue the general and turn the tide, because the Na'vi were not expecting 100 Ash people to join the battle.
Here's the thing. I could recognize on one level that it's very quote-unquote exciting without myself being very involved. In fact, the opposite. I'm starting to feel body aches of sitting too long, and I'm feeling exhausted. We've seen all this spectacle before. It looks fantastic, but I feel like we saw whale attacks and all of this stuff before. There's nothing really new about this attack other than it's grand. And so I'm feeling like, boy, I want this to get to it. Chop, chop.
I was checking my watch a lot during this because every time there was a battle, I kept thinking this was the final battle. But you're right, there's absolutely nothing new in this. It's just the same thing over and over. The kids get into trouble, captured and recaptured. We even end up on the boat again, like we did in 2, when the older brother was killed. And you're right, at this point, I was getting antsy. I was already irritated, and I felt like it went on way too long.
Yeah, I feel like the audience was really into it. They applauded at the ends both times, and I didn't see a whole lot of screens. So I will say people were into it. I knew they were because the man in front of me would lean back every time something big exploded. He was reacting. He was in it. I think I was just fatigued. I know I was the first time I saw it. I was much more rested the second time. And of course, I didn't have to write as fast because I knew what was going to happen. But what happens that seems new, the only thing that seems new, is that this whole time Kiri has been like, I can't plug in again or I'll have a seizure. And she just decides, well, whether I die or not, I've got to appeal to Mother Earth because she's the only one that can solve this problem. And she dives down in there. Help me out. Why does Spider and Took plugging in with her? It looks like she's not going to get to Mother Earth or whatever we're calling her. Good Mother, I don't know what you want to call her. Iowa. she's going to get to Iowa, and it's only because Spider and Took walk alongside her in this wind tunnel.
Took had nothing else to do except get captured. Spider, I think because they're a couple now, and he's got a supporter, and he's a Na'vi.
I definitely think it's that she needs support. Support from Spider, who is also now a magical creature, makes a lot of sense. And yes, Marjorie's dead on. Took has nothing else to do. And they should have left her with Grandma, like the older sister in the Poltergeist movies. But they have her here. She actually muddies this message. I did find the romance between Kiri and Spider to be uncomfortable, not only because they were kind of raised like siblings, and so now it feels like some step-sibling shit going on, but also when they kiss, I'm like, is 75-year-old Sigourney Weaver kissing this like 20-year-old actor on set? Can she even do that with the cameras in front of her face that are there to capture the movement? I mean, that's creepy as hell to me. That age difference is very creepy.
Well, thank you. I am always going to think of a 75-year-old lady kissing a 20-year-old kid in that movie now. Thanks.
I mean, it's cougarish, but it's not illegal. I mean, she's not a pedo.
It's beyond cougarish, though. I don't know what's beyond a cougar, but that might be it.
Saber-toothed tiger?
Well, I'm not the only one who was wondering about this. Sigourney Weaver did come out over the weekend and say, no, she did not kiss the 15, 16-year-old boy. She made them bring in somebody age appropriate for her to kiss. And so they did use their 3D cameras to have her kiss somebody. And she doesn't even know, but she assumes that the actor playing Spider also had an age appropriate kiss partner for that scene. But I was just picturing the worst.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver is just a weird choice for playing a teenager at this point. But again, that's kind of what gets Cameron off, is that he can play with our expectations about that. I think he loves the fact that that's complicated for the viewer. But anyway, the point is that they do kind of half see Iowa, right? We see like side eye, and they almost get there. And she does turn the tide. She does end up sending the creatures from the very deep, those squid things that attacked the kids earlier, are now the thing that ride in at the end and turn the tide. If she hadn't done that, then I do think that the Ash people would have won.
Absolutely. She is the chosen one, much like Anakin in The Phantom Menace spinning. That's a great trick. Let's go blow up the droid ship. Here, Iowa, that's a great trick. Let's get these squids that were introduced earlier with that voiceover from Loak. They say that when you were attacked by them, it's evil spirits coming to get you or something like that. I don't have the exact dialogue, but it was supposed to be like a spiritual thing that these squids were attacking him while he was out trying to find Payakin. But now they have come for the Ash people. And Varang saying, we don't need Iowa. She is weak. Now Varang is getting her comeuppance because it's Iowa who is winning the day.
Yeah, and I thought they were telling us, and maybe that's a red herring misdirect they intend, but I thought they were telling us that Neytiri and Varang would get the final battle, right? That it was Mama versus Mama or something, that the spiritual leader of two clans, the females, are going to go at it. But when they capture Took, they also capture Neytiri because she's busy giving birth to Kate Winslet as Kate Winslet is dying. And so it becomes Kiri in probably the most absurd scene of the movie. Her hair braid attacking, watching two ponytails bite at each other. Don't do it.
Well, this is exactly what Varang has been doing to all of her victims the whole movie. So you should have been vaccinated against that by this point.
No, but I didn't expect a lightsaber battle between ponytails.
That's very short. They connect almost instantly. What got me is that Cameron apes aliens so much to get Sigourney Weaver to say her famous line again, only instead of for a daughter that she's trying to protect, now it's for a mother that she's trying to protect. I can't decide if I love it or I hate it. I can't decide if it's a cool homage of Cameron realizing he made better movies back then, so let's think about those, or if it's just a bad ripoff.
I definitely think Cameron is aware of it. I think many things that are happening here are callbacks, and that Cameron seems to be treating Avatar as a curtain call. This is the last thing that I will ever do in film, and I'm using new technology to have you look at my greatest hits.
Yeah, that's not intentional. He's talking already about getting back in the director's chair very soon. So unless he has an unexpected death.
It was his plan, again, when he thought he had to make 2 more Avatar movies. But now that he's thinking, I can walk away from this, or maybe I want to walk away from this, yes, that has changed.
It is no surprise that the final battle, though, is between Kiri and Varang. It was clear from the beginning of this movie that they're setting it up for the kids to take over, and Jake and Neytiri are going to be pushed to the background and kind of like wise leaders. It's going to be all kids in the next 2, I guarantee it.
I didn't see it coming, but you're right, it's there.
And I didn't see it coming. The whole movie has been Neytiri hissing at Varang. Varang got that early scene. And in fact, some of the hissing did get laughter from my second audience. They were thinking that all of this cat hissing was funny from these women. But I thought for sure this would be Neytiri's ultimate victory and revenge for getting shot. I did not expect Kiri to take over like this.
Or to put another way, it's fine if you want to bench Sam Worthington. We've decided he's not a star, but Zoe Saldana just won the Oscar. She deserves more of an arc than she gets.
Right, but this whole movie, what did Jake and Neytiri do in this movie? Not much.
They learned to get over the grief of the children they lost and appreciate what the children that they have are going to do for them.
But their kids are the ones who did all the stuff, the action.
That happens here. That's the final battle is Loak, who again has been feeling so bad and has wanted to join Dad on a gun mission. Finally, Dad's got an arrow in his leg and like, okay, I need a wingman. It's you.
And he finally says what Loak needed to hear. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. And help me up because my leg is ruined and I have no chance in this fight without somebody who's a good shot. And so, yes, it's the confirmation of fathers and sons that Loak makes Dad proud, and then Spider, I think, at least makes Jake proud. I don't think Quaritch is very happy that Spider picks up a crossbow and puts an arrow through his arm.
I was so happy with this end battle between Quaritch and Jake because I'm like, I was scared the whole movie they were going to redeem Quaritch. Nope, here we go. Let's get the climactic battle. Quaritch is a bad guy and... oh shit, they're going to redeem Quaritch.
But they don't. Not exactly. I mean, again, his redemption is that he can appreciate something about Pandora. But I don't know. Another question mark. Is Varang dead? I don't think so.
No, she flew off into the ashes, sunset, something like that.
Yeah, she'll be back in part 4.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In fact, I overheard my audience as we were leaving. Somebody in the audience said, did she live? And the other guy goes, yeah, she probably won't die till part 5.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I would be sad. She's too good to throw away. You need her. She was great in this and didn't have enough to do, frankly. She needs to come back if they're going to make more.
I agree. I really like her in this. And this is very Darth Vader in A New Hope, how he escaped the Death Star blowing up to come back for the sequels because we want to keep Darth Vader around. That said, she was such a villain in this movie that it would have been more satisfying to see her killed.
Maybe if she was the primary villain, but there's just been so much. Because we've had to deal with Edie Falco and everything else in Wales, I just feel like it wasn't her movie. It could have been.
But I think they need a new villain for the next 2 parts because you can't keep rehashing.
Arnold! I'm telling you guys, Arnold!
No.
Yes, it's going to be him. But anyway, yes, Quaritch decides to hit the reset button. I don't think he dies. He knows that he can come back in a Na'vi body, and he knows that Neytiri's got the upper hand here when they're all dangling off. They have this awkward moment where Jake has pulled Spider and him up from the fires, and they've got to decide what to do. He's just like, see you next movie.
I don't know that that's the case, but I don't fully understand his choice at suicide, since Jake was stopping them from shooting him and saying you could see with new eyes. The fact that if he jumped to his death or even thought he was jumping to his death, that feels very unmotivated.
There's something going on between him and Neytiri, right? There's something very specific. It's when he sees her and she's got the arrow on him that he goes, oh, never mind. I'm not going to do this.
Well, she did kill him the first time.
Yeah, he's not going to give her that satisfaction again.
And I'm glad they don't have an extended denouement here. Once this battle is over, we get a little bit of voiceover. It's pretty quick. Spider and Kiri are going to interface with the tree and see all the dead people.
Yeah, the eclipse ends, light always returns. That's a theme we've hit hundreds of times by this point. And yes, it helps us understand who died, right? We see that Kate Winslet died, but her baby lives. And I don't think that the Titanic vibe you talked about was unintentional. Cameron wants us to think about that. What it made me wonder is, did they actually kill Spider? Are they like, we found a place for you in the afterlife?
No, I think the fact that he can commune in the afterlife, like I said, he's now uploaded to the cloud so that when he dies, he'll be there, but he's not dead. I mean, any more than Kiri is dead. And Kiri introduces him to Mom, her new boyfriend, and Sigourney Weaver in her 70-year-old body is there.
And we get some Miley Cyrus. It should be said, Dream is One wants to win the Oscar for Best Song. Probably won't.
Here's the thing. I like some Miley Cyrus songs. Wrecking Ball is a banger. I Can Buy Myself Flowers, good song. But I dislike Miley herself and her persona. The reason I said she sounds like she wants to be anywhere else, she sounds so bored singing it.
I like this song better than the Weeknd song from last movie. I'll just put it that way. It's not quite My Heart Will Go On, but they're going for that vibe, right? That Titanic ending sting.
Yeah, they want it to be that. Cameron would love to get another Oscar, despite the fact that he has poo-pooed the Oscar lately. He actually said, you can play the awards game or you can play my game, which is make movies people really go to.
I mean, you've shared that sentiment too, Arnie. You don't like the Oscars.
Not anymore, but I just didn't care for this song. I stuck around for it the first time, and the second time, hey, I was actually one of the first ones in the men's room because I just bolted as soon as she started singing. So, Stuart, Marjorie, do you recommend Avatar, Fire and Ash? Stuart.
Yeah, James Cameron has never stopped being a visionary director, and Fire and Ash reminded me of that. He is still capable of making that thrilling action set piece using cutting-edge technology, and marrying it to pretty progressive feminist warrior themes. I've always liked that about him, and he did it in Terminator, Aliens, Abyss, T2, True Lies, Titanic, and all 3 Avatar films. I never doubt his commitment, and his hard work oftentimes yields impressive results, and this is no exception. I am impressed by the visual splendor of this movie. But, and we've all had this but, I think at this point, the truth is that going to Pandora is kind of a chore. It's really long. It demands a lot of our time. We have to learn these names and care about this stuff, and the dialogue is crap. And by this point, the been there, done that is really high, as it always is in a part 3. We've already seen all this stuff before, so even though it looks great, it's overly familiar. So you're just stuck between bad dialogue and just pummeling effects. Here's what saves the movie. Stephen Lang, Una Chaplin. They are a combustible pair. It is great fun. Whenever they are on screen, their faces, they're lusting for each other. They make this movie. They give it the spark that this movie needed to feel alive and not like some obvious conclusion. In so many ways, this thing is just about checking boxes. But their stuff I did not expect, and I love it. And this is the reason why. It's going to be a green arrow. It's like pulling a green arrow through Jake's leg. Kind of painful to recommend this movie, but I am going to give this movie an endorsement because of them. This movie is visually splendid. It has a wonderful pair of villains who I love watching every second of. And even though I'm exhausted by it and annoyed by it, I can say mild recommend.
Marjorie.
Okay. I didn't have a great viewing experience, but I also was not looking forward to this. I feel that this kind of snuck up. We just had this, 2 years ago?
3. The strike gave us an extra breathing room.
Yes, it did. But I feel that the focus is all on what Cameron can do visually, and then the storytelling is way back when Cameron's out here figuring out how to make 3D less strain on your eyes, which I appreciate that. If I could see it, I would love that. But the storytelling, there's nothing original here. There's nothing new. We get so much of the kids because I firmly believe that this next 2, 3, I don't know, I feel like we're going to do this till we're 90, guys, are being set up for the kids to be the main heroes, and Jake and Neytiri are going to be more of advisors, that kind of thing, and the revered ones. I guarantee they're going to set this up to be Kira's movie, the next one, where she's learning how to use her powers now that she knows what her is.
Great Mother, help us!
I firmly believe that this is going to be Spider, Kira, Lorak, and Took's movie the next time. They are going to be handed the franchise. It's going to become more of a Disney property. I personally think it's very pretty. I think that Cameron has done some amazing things to further film, but I think that he's losing that story aspect because I just didn't find this interesting. It seemed like the same thing over and over and over. And, I'll agree with Stuart that Stephen Lang was amazing. He was in Don't Breathe, and he was really good in Don't Breathe. And he was very good in this. Una Chaplin, also very good. But I don't think that those two performances are enough to see the movie. I checked my watch an average of every 25 minutes because I kept feeling like everything was going on too long. And a few times it felt like the end, much like Return of the King, where there was like 6 endings. And I just kept feeling like, oh, this surely must be the end. Nope. Okay, we're still going. This is just Cameron's venture into, I want to be lauded for what I've done for cinema. And yes, we have. So maybe it's time to just kind of let this one go. So I'm going to not recommend this, and I will say I'm not looking forward to the next 8 of them.
You said until they're 90. By the time they get around to the next one, Sigourney Weaver might be 90.
That's true.
Or have they already photographed her stuff? That I can't figure out.
They filmed a little bit of part 4 already because they said there's going to be a big time jump in Act 1 of part 4. So they wanted to get the kids while they were still kids.
Okay, but there aren't really the kids on the screen.
Here's the thing I wondered is, could you recast and put the same skin on a different actor? Could someone give a Sigourney Weaver performance and not be Sigourney Weaver?
I'm surprised she does mocap because I imagine that if you're not used to that kind of thing, that maybe it's a little taxing and trying.
She's a theatrical actress. I'm sure she doesn't appreciate wearing 80 pounds of gear to do her monologue.
Yeah, exactly.
No, she loves it. She absolutely loves it. She says it's like black box acting. She loves that it's pure performance.
She loves it in the press material, Arnie. We don't know what she really thinks. We know she got a lot of money for this.
And like I said up top, I've been dreading this movie all year. I think Avatar 2 is the worst movie I've seen in theaters in years. Of all the stuff we've reviewed for Now Playing, only some of the direct-to-sci-fi dreck has tortured me more than sitting through Avatar 2. And then, as I mentioned, not a fan of Cameron anymore. Just, you can label me a hater of Cameron. I'll wear that t-shirt before I wear a Na'vi t-shirt. So, yeah, imagine my surprise when an hour into this movie, I'm thinking, this isn't so bad. But like I said, let's see if you feel that way in 2 more hours. And 2 hours later, I was still entertained. And I realized this movie is a recommend, but a weak one, because this movie has a ton of flaws in terms of pacing and narrative. But it's the first Avatar film where I only yawned a little and wasn't clawing for the door. I mean, the flaws are huge. There's way too many plot strands. We've got the voodoo Na'vi want guns. Kiri discovers her connection to Iwa. Quaritch wants to capture Sully. Quaritch wants to reconnect with Spider. Quaritch wants to get his groove on with a voodoo queen. Sully doesn't want to be a warrior leader but likes guns. Neytiri's dealing with grief. Neytiri's recovering from wounds. The Toolcan whale outcast shit. Humans wanting Toolcan blubber. Humans wanting to colonize Pandora because Earth is poisoned. Giovanni Ribisi's power struggle with Edie Falco, who's having a power struggle with Quaritch. Loak wanting his dad's approval and being suicidal. Spider's mysterious evolution. The Water Tribe don't accept Sully's ways. We didn't even talk about Kate Winslet Who goes into battle when crowning from labor? You keep that one person home. And all of her argument with Neytiri that kept going on. And then, yes, the freaking biologist who feels not listened to. If you think I spent too long listing these plot strands, think about how arduous and jumbled this is as a film. So much of it, like Kiri's divine birth, the entire character of Took, they get short shrift while too much time is spent on teaching pacifist whales that peace is for sissies. And some of that payoff is unfulfilling, like Quaritch jumping seemingly to his death, and I can't quite figure out why, and the Voodoo Queen escaping for a sequel, etc. And yes, some of this dialogue is laughably bad, from the first lines in the movie where Kiri reminds audiences, oh, I wish I could do this, but I will drown. Don't you remember that from part 2? To her finding out she's Jesus, and oh, that really sucks. But the movie gets a lot of things right. I do like the Ash Tribal Warriors. I think it really adds something to Pandora that we've been missing. Na'vi versus Na'vi beyond just arguing about religion. This is interesting to me. And that Quaritch has shifting allegiances between all three factions makes him a wild card that I really never know what he's going to do next. And there's always something happening in this movie, not just Na'vi half-breed children moping about moving away from home. But this film is really the Way of Water Part 2 in that it pays off everything in Part 2, which doesn't make Part 2 better retroactively. It actually spotlights all the flaws with 2 and with Cameron's ego. 2 was 3 hours of setup for things to happen in 3. That's hubris, released as a $2 billion making movie. But in this movie, things are happening almost nonstop to pay off the boredom we suffered in Part 2. The humans are finally handed a decisive loss. I feel like the humans aren't going to come back to Pandora. They'll try to find an easier planet to colonize. Sully finally embraces his warrior leader role. Even the space whales have an arc here that explains why we spent so much time in Part 2. And so by the time we get to this visually amazing, multi-layered final battle with its ups and downs, I realized this movie had villains I enjoyed hating, and characters I was rooting for, and arcs I was actively enjoying. It's probably the worst Cameron movie I will recommend, but I am going to recommend Part 3 with the big asterisk of, the series isn't worth it just for this movie.
What a knot you've created for yourself. I don't like this and I don't like the filmmaker, but maybe 3 is what I'm hearing.
3, as a standalone experience, was entertaining twice in 2 days. That really says something that I enjoyed this movie that much. But I feel like you have to sit through 9 hours of movie to enjoy 3 hours of it, and that is not worth it, especially the middle 3 hours. So it's like this single movie, I will give Cameron a high 4, but for the whole franchise, if you haven't seen it and you see, well, this third one's pretty good, it's not worth the journey.
My ranking's different. I definitely feel like the only one you really need to see is, at least for a story experience, is the first movie. When it was about Jake, it made sense to me, I connected to it, and I thought, familiar though it was, it worked. Once they added the family in these second 2 films, it's been a real struggle, and I think Marjorie's right to say, get used to it because the family is going to be the future stars. And they don't feel like stars to me, they feel like barnacles. But I will say that this third one has more visual splendor. And again, it's that relationship. It's Stephen Lang, quite frankly, pulling this out of the fire at the end.
I agree, Arnie. I think it's not worth the long haul if you want to see this one. See the first one, see it in 3D, and I think you're okay. Because there's going to be plenty of these, and you don't need to rush out and make the, I know, it feels like 15-hour commitment to see all of these movies.
Although some people are going to love it. I mean, obviously, some people do want to live on Pandora, and I think definitely the pre-sold were applauding. Like, we can say that the fans that were in my theater felt served. It's the people that liked the first movie but maybe didn't like the second movie, like me. Should they bother with the third? I'm going to say barely.
And I think you can't watch 3 without 2, and 2's bad outweighs 3's good. But I liked 3 since I had to see it. I didn't mind seeing it. It was pretty good. Cameron's best film of the century.
Okay. Until the Billie Eilish concert.
Yes, I probably like that best of all.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I like Billie Eilish. Anyway, speaking of part 3s, we got a few more to knock out here. This Friday, we're doing Anaconda. And yes, folks, it's going to Sci-Fi Channel with David Hasselhoff. You got a problem with that?
I would rather go to the jungle with Anaconda than go to Pandora with Na'vi. And I'd rather hang out with the Hoff than Sully.
Wow. You know what? Not everyone is going to support your choices, Arnie. I'm just going to say.
At least both the Hoff and Quaritch like burgers.
Jesus. Anyway.
So that'll be available for donors of $10 or more through Apple Podcasts, Patreon, Podbean, or direct donation to us. We know it's Christmas, we know money's tight, but we always appreciate every dollar you can donate to help keep this show going. We are ad-free. As I pointed out to somebody in our Facebook group this week, we're also not monetized. We don't have to rage bait for clicks. We don't have to say the most extreme things just to get you to watch our YouTube channel because we don't make a penny from YouTube. We put our shows there, but they've never offered to send us a check. We are supported by you guys and able to be completely honest and not have toxic positivity or toxic hate towards a franchise. We can be completely honest because it's you guys who support us. So thank you for that support. Thank you for letting us not have to play to that lowest common denominator of clicks. We really appreciate it.
You might have toxic hate for Avatar, but it's genuine. It's not performative.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm dreading the next Scream movie because I got hate mail.
Oh, yeah. It happens to all of us. I'm not with you guys on this one. I like Pandora enough, but I definitely have gotten it. We all do for not liking things that, Fast and the Furious, that other people do. Anyway, a series I think we all like is Knives Out, and the part 3 of that has been running on Netflix for some time now. We're finally going to get to that review next Tuesday. Before the end of 2025, we got one more big movie that I've been waiting for, and hope that it can keep up the quality.
I found it very funny that when we reviewed the first 2 Knives Out films, Avatar 2 was between them. Avatar 2 and Knives Out are on the same release schedule. So they're 1 week apart back then and 1 week apart this time too. And yeah, I'm very excited for Knives Out 3. I've already seen it in theaters over Thanksgiving. Can't wait to go back to that series and have another Benoit Blanc mystery.
Called Wake Up Dead Man, and look for it next Tuesday before we get to Darkman.
So have a very Merry Christmas. Hopefully you go and see Anaconda, the reboot, instead of Avatar. I'm more excited for that Anaconda than this Pandora. Jack Black, greater than sign Sam Worthington.
You sang that sight unseen. You better hope they're not eating your words like an anaconda eating Jack Black.
I have a lot of hope and faith in this movie. I am so excited for it. It's ridiculous. I can't wait.
It looks okay. It looks like the best Anaconda movie ever. I'll say that.
So have a very happy holidays from all of us at Now Playing. Thank you for listening to Now Playing. And until next time, we see you.
Well, I guess this is my last video log. 'Cause whatever happens tonight, either way, I'm not gonna be coming back to this place. Well, I guess I better go. This is Jake Sully signing off.
Thank you for listening to this Now Playing Podcast movie review. We hope you enjoyed the show.
That was insane!
Help us spread the word about this show by leaving a 5-star review on Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, or your podcast store of choice.
The way of water connects all things.
And come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com next Tuesday for another all-new movie review podcast.
Everything is backwards now. Like out there is the true world, and in here is the dream.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the views of Venganza Media Incorporated.
We will fight terror with terror.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with, and this podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by any entity that created the film analyzed herein. All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review and no infringement is intended.
Our great mother does not take sides, Sheikh. She protects only the balance of life.
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of and may not be used without the express written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2025, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
What has hurt you?
What has hurt you?
Today we're discussing Avatar, Fire and Ash, which sadly does not feature a Bruce Campbell cameo. I thought for sure Fire and Ash, we'd have Chainsaw Hand.
I have a question, Arnie, because I saw that in the 3D version that they accidentally showed nipples.
I did not see nipple this time. When I rewatched Avatar 1, I was reminded of how many nip slips Neytiri had. It feels like with the upgrade in technology, or maybe the Disney ownership, they've improved Na'vi double stick tape technology.
I thought I saw Kate Winslet's boob, but not this chick's boob.
In hundreds of years in the future, did McDonald's win the franchise wars? Is there an Avatar Happy Meal right now? Is this?
I assume. I actually assume that that's what it is. Yeah, I would imagine going to McDonald's and getting something Avatar.
I was just at McDonald's. I didn't see Avatar advertised, but maybe they're at Burger King.
No, I think they have SpongeBob.
It's the Grinch right now.
Yes, you're right.
With the Grinch salt.
Somebody came running up to me and going, "Look at my socks." Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We could talk about the cool scene from the Odyssey. I'm excited. That looked good.
I didn't see it. I walked in for the IMAX. I even missed Nicole. I literally walked in as the IMAX countdown was going.
Hang on just a second.
Oh, that's too bad. They show you the actual, I mean, it's edited down, but they show you how to get the Trojan horse in and attack. It's a good scene.
I couldn't bear to be in a theater for 4 hours with AMC's 30 minutes of trailers and everything. Mm-hmm. And I saw this at a mall because it had laser projection. I didn't realize laser meant HDR. Mm-hmm. And I went with the intent of getting there like 10 minutes late so I could miss some of the endless trailers and commercials.
Yeah.
But because I was at a mall the week before Christmas, it didn't even occur to me there's no parking. Like, it's not, there's no close parking.
No,
there was no parking at this mall. And so I was jogging into the mall to get in and then get my ticket scanned, get my glasses. And as I'm getting my glasses, the lady who's handing out the glasses, like, so many people have come. Oh, this pair's dirty. Oh, no, this pair's dirty, too. Here, let me get a towel. I'm going to clean these for you. I usually do this, but I had to go get the rack, and the water dries on them. And I'm, like, trying to get to the theater.
Yeah, I need to get to the show, lady. I'm paid to do this. I got to see it every second.
I wanted to get a water, and I raced to the restroom because I had to leave during the climax the first time I saw it to pee. And so I raced to the restroom so I don't have to leave again to pee. And I walk into the theater. Do I have time to get a water? No, it's the IMAX 10 countdown. And so then an elderly couple is in front of me and walking up the stairs like with a walker. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then the husband notices and like moves the walker wife to the side so I can pass on the right and sit down as the 20th Century Fox logo is going. So